Welcome everybody to Moon's Day Night. So a few days ago, in case you're wondering, Shane was gonna, we missed, things happen. I don't know what happened. He never answered. But a couple days ago, he reached out to me. He said, let's do it. He was quite confident. So yesterday I called him up. I said, hey, 24 hours from now, you're going to be ready? He's like, yes. So I have him here. Here we go. There's Shane on the screen right over there. So Shane, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit? What's that? I don't hear you, Shane. Over the sound of you running away, I can't hear anything. Yes. Shane the horrible stolen valor, friend of the Führer, has run away again. But we have a significantly smarter replacement. Way smarter. Muchly smarter. Well, tell you what, I see Professor Parks. You want to come in? Send me a message on Discord if you're interested. But I do have something for a few minutes. This is going to be good. And this is the audience participation portion. But before I get to that, I should say, there it is. Okay. Wednesday, July 5th, that's 2 days hence, at Lucky's 7 Pub in Bloomington, we are having a get-together, a meetup. So I think there's one Flat Earther going to be there. A second one is potential. I specifically gave an invite to Jaron, but he thinks he probably couldn't make it. The plane flight was a bit much. But actually, speaking of Jaron, on Thursday, this will happen. Thursday, Jaron and I are going to have a discussion. It's not a debate, a discussion. We have a schedule already laid out. It's going to be pretty cool, I think. Jaron and I have chatted a little bit over the last several, a couple, whatever amount of time. And we're like, should we try? Yeah, let's do it. Let's have something. We want it to be cordial and friendly, and how a conversation really should be, I think, is what both of us want. So we're both hopeful that it can happen like that. So can we ridicule Witsit? Oh, is he live right now? Yes, we certainly could. We could, but all right, before that, I've got something. So you may or may not be familiar with one Santos Bonacci and the fake challenge that he issued. It's fake because, well, there's 4 things that I think you need to have a legitimate challenge. Number 1, you have to have the money in escrow. If you don't have the money in escrow, you probably don't even have the money anyway. And Santos certainly doesn't have the money. Number 2, you need to have a clear, objectively measurable acceptance criteria. Here is what I will accept. Here is what I won't accept. Something very objectively measurable, right? So some third party could say yes or no. Not something like, oh, convince me, right? Number 3, the rules cannot change. You can't change them on the fly. You can't move the goalposts, flatties. That's all you ever do. We know that's what you love to do, but that's not a legitimate challenge. So you really should publish it somewhere so somebody can take a screenshot of it, at the very least, a screenshot of it. If you go around and you multiple times issue a challenge, and every time you issue it, you use different wording, then how many unique, distinct challenges have you just issued? Well, every one is a distinct challenge, really, right? So when I issue a challenge, I say, this video is not the official challenge. The official challenge is on my website. It is the document that's linked on the website. That's the official challenge. Go get that. Read that. Any questions? Read that. You have a question for me? Read that. It's always back to that. No matter what I say, read the challenge. That's the rules. And then number 4, you have to have independent arbitration, right? So just having the challenge issuer say, I'm the only judge, right? That doesn't work. You need to have some third party, unless you're chicken, right? Unless you're chicken, you'll have a third party. You'll say, okay, well, somebody whose money isn't on the line, somebody who's ideally not even in the conversation, not a not a longtime follower of the topic. So that's what you want ideally. Santos has well, he does have third party arbitration. He said he would. You have to sue him, but he did not give the information necessary to sue him. Right? You'd need to have his address, and since he's a sovereign citizen, you'd need to know the special magical phrase that you need to address him. But he's done none of this work anyway. So I thought I would cover a little bit of the response to the challenge that he did. I completed it the other day. I took his wording very specifically. I do think that the wording that he said would definitely stand up in court. The way I applied it, he said it needs to be a real/true photo of the Earth. He didn't say how much of the Earth. I chose a small portion of the Earth. He said it needs to be not CGI. Well, and he wants the name and the name and the date of the photograph. He's very unclear. The name of the photographer, maybe, or the name of the date. Right? The way he worded it, you could think, do you want the name of the time of the date? Anyway, and he says you need to go to court. Well, he never gave information on how to reach him. So anyway, here is a little web page I made for him. Got a few of his best sides here. This is an excellent photograph of him, one of his better ones. It really shows the true Santos in there. Be sure to pass around the link I put in there. Little bit of background for him, and then there's another photograph of him. Yeah, look at that. And another one. It's a popular pose for him. This spiritual leader, this man of peace. He's a man of the cloth, people. That's who he is. Anyway, so I did. I emailed him. And he did not have the best response. I'll right there. I'll put this on for just a minute here. You may need to actually go to I don't want any YouTube doing any OCR on this because wow, that's Santos. He's a horrible person. Here is an email exchange I had with him a while ago. I think most of this is probably going to be okay. I hope you see that there. I could not possibly read these out. Not a chance. I could not. You'll have to read it yourself. You go to the website. There you go. A few of the choice words that he had for me. Just to reference, I said, why are you so scared to debate for flat Earth? Is it because you know you will get exposed as a fraud? I dare you to face me in a live debate. You will run scared. I was right. I love being right. This was his response. Yeah. It will come as no surprise to you that this was his response. He sent some pictures. I've blurred them out from his personal collection, no doubt. Yeah, you didn't want to see them though. There you go. He gets creative with font size. There you go. There's that. More of this. This was just, a whole series of a few more photographs from his personal collection. So there you go. There you go. Out of the blue, he sends me this. There you go. Anyway, so a few more. This is some of the responses. That was before. That wasn't. That was from maybe a year ago. Was it? October of 2022. So not quite a year ago. And here's just a few of the screenshots from the emails that I've had with him. You'll find on YouTube some of these things he posted as community posts. The one thing I have to say, I'm quite certain that YouTube does not want this stuff on their platform. They're probably unaware of it. They may appreciate being informed of it. Just letting you know, if you wanted to be a friend to YouTube and let them know that Santos is doing these types of things. So anyway, here's another one. This is from somebody who was on TikTok who submitted a thing to his challenge, and so a few more. I'll just go quick. I mean, it's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. All the same stuff. Have a look, peruse that on your own time. But what I do have, though, the audience participation part, he did not specify the number of people that could win. He did not specify the number of times in his challenge that one individual could win. It is unlimited. And he very clearly stated this is a public challenge, and that if he reneges on it, which of course he's going to, that you could sue him. So every single one of you can simultaneously win and simultaneously sue him. So my invitation to you is to go to this webpage here. I'll put it in the chat. How can you? Icy Spin is asking a good question there. I'll get this on screen. So if anybody, how can you do that? Well, you have to go to his just go to YouTube, search for Santos Bonacci or Mr. Astrotheology, and go to his community tab, and then scroll down, and there's a little three vertical dots, and you can press that, and then you can follow through on there, and it asks you to categorize the stuff appropriately. So just go ahead and do that. Just be creative, figure it out. I'm sure you can. But all right, so here's what you can do. Oh, I didn't save that. I need to save. So I did. Got to reload. There it is. Okay. So right there, right at the top, everybody can win. So right there is Santos's email address. This photograph that this page has, let me just scroll down here. 165. Get rid of that last one there. 165 different photographs that all meet his requirements. He asked for a photograph. It has to be unmanipulated. He added that later because that's what he does. Every one of these is an actual photographic positive. It's not a negative. It's a photographic slide. And I think, yeah, this one here. This shows how they are actually stored. It's got photographs. Am I right on this? Of no, not this one. Where is it? This one. So I have on here linked a photograph or a page that talks about the process that they use if you want to access the photographs. Anyway, so here it is. This is one of many. This is from Apollo 7. You can see the curve of the horizon. You can see the Earth there. You can see that this is a photographic slide because you can see the sprocket holes on the sides. So you can take this one or any of the other 164 on that page, which I haven't made links yet. So actually, Ken G, if you're listening, you could pop in and help edit those, make them into clickable links so that they open in a new page instead of on the same page. Or I'll get to it. And so I'm asking you, if you want, take that email address, send any of those to Santos, and say, you owe me $10,000. In fact, you could send multiple. Say, owe me for every one of them. You could claim all 165, and I highly suggest that you do. That he doesn't just owe you $10,000, he owes you $1.65 million. That's just, I just briefly went through and picked up a bunch, right? Um, there is, and I didn't select them yet, but there are several astronauts that are actually still living. So the photographer is still alive from these Apollo missions. For some of them, I didn't get to that, but I do intend to, or if you guys want to help find some of them that are, specifically, this is the photographer, this is who he is. He's still kicking, and those are, because he would never go to court. He has no money. But think about it. You think about it. If you were sitting in court, you could bring up Charlie Duke, Apollo 16 astronaut still alive. You could say, Charlie, did you or did you not take this photograph on a Hasselblad camera? And he would say under oath, absolutely, I did. To which nobody could be like, nuh-uh. In a court of law, nuh-uh doesn't do anything. Right? You actually have to have evidence for stuff. So it wouldn't go very far. So anyway, I'm asking you all to take advantage of this opportunity. Oh, they are all links. Oh, excellent. All right. So there you go. Have a look. Send them. I'm sure he'll be super excited. Super excited. Some of these I actually picked up, like here's the Straits of Gibraltar, and here's a little like write up about it. So I did kind of organize them by Apollo mission. So starting with 57, it's Apollo 10. Then Apollo 11. You see, anyway, you'll get it. So there you go. Please do that. And while you're doing it, ask him, how shall I send the correspondence so that I may sue you? Whether or not you're gonna sue him, right? But if you are one person that is able, or somebody that is able to actually go through with it and actually sue him, right? Because he's in Mexico, he's in Puerto Morelos in Mexico, south of Cancun. If you do know somebody that is capable of doing that, please forward it. Or if you are one of those people, hey, send me a message, mctoon@mctoon.net. I would be glad to be an expert witness or kick in any way. I don't know if it's possible to sue him in absentia. He certainly, somebody had messaged him and who is in Australia. He sent me a DM on Discord, said that he's asking him, right? I don't know the legal system of any country, including this one, whether or not it is easy to do or how you can do it or possible. But if it is, whatever country you're in, if it's possible in your country, wouldn't that be fantastic? That every single country he runs to, there's a bunch of people saying, you owe me a big old pile of money legally. You can't, no, give it. Come on. Fork it over. So, all right. Gary IOW sent me some pics on Discord. There it is. Sun not getting smaller. Awesome. So, thanks, Gary. Can we file a class action lawsuit? I don't know if a class action lawsuit, I have no clue. I don't know. He's not in the United States, so who knows? So there it is. Please do take it, avail yourself of this opportunity. I do hope that he gets lots of people telling him, hey, you owe me money. A real photograph taken on photographic slide film right there. That's a real photograph of the Earth from space. Right there, we're looking at it. You can download. This is, and of course, Flurf said that they won't ever go for the big one, but here's the big one: 1.3 gigabyte raw TIFF file. If you know anything about typesetting. So there it is. They go on and on. Thousands of photographs. Thousands. How can you, I mean, how can Santos live like he does? What an absolute horrible person. And to issue a challenge that's so easily solved, and then to just, instead of actually saying no, sorry, I don't agree, he actually, everybody that sent him a message has received back a vile, hate-filled response. He is such a lonely, pathetic person that he is so much about hate. Santos is just, it's just his whole life is hate. That's what he is. He's just this little tiny imp with more hate in him than any other person has ever had in them before. What a pathetic existence he leads. So, all right. PhD Tony says the Gemini mission photos are spectacular. I did include some Gemini, some Mercury mission photos. They don't have the sprocket lines on the side. I didn't. They are fantastic, but I like the ones with the sprockets because you can see that it's actually film, and then some of them you can see the neighboring photographs. Let me see here, right? Like on these, you can see the neighboring photographs, so you can see that it's not, find a couple. Yeah, I mean, look at it. It's got these little I don't know what that is, but that's from the ship, maybe, or something. Just some light bleeding in from somewhere else. So, to say, oh, that's fake or something. No, that's not how things are faked. This one here, here's an example. You can see the neighboring frame right there, which is probably this one, is also partially in there. So, Liquid Flames, do I want to make an archive of all the hateful emails he sends us? Yes. In fact, I have already, that's what this webpage is here. So yeah, send them to me. And so here's, this is what, when somebody happens on to him and says, hey, oh, look, he's a spiritual leader. Maybe I should look into him. When you type his name into Google, I want this webpage to come up. This one right here. I want this to be what people see when they search for Santos. This is who Santos is. Right? That's who he is. So when somebody searches his name, this webpage should come up, and that'll give him a chance to see, oh, well, he's wanted for 500 moving violations in Australia. And then he skipped bail. He's on the run. He's literally on the run from Australia from 2015 for 8 years. That little house elf has been on the run. He owes $132,000 in fines. I have some links to the articles on him there. So there you go. That's what he should be. So we got a couple super chats here, and then well, let's see. Professor Rob Parks didn't answer. Did he have to go? Randomly Epic says Santos is an evil little gremlin. I told Greg not to feed him after midnight. Greg, can't believe you did that. You should not. Yeah, definitely should not feed him after midnight. Let's see. Dave Kircher says, Mank Midi Kaka, it's Moon's Day. Yes, thanks. Screwy Louie says, got a deep to flurf, or derp. I think he meant to say got a derp to flurf. There, yep, he came back with that other one, got a derp to flurf. Fact Based says, we want Krakatoon. That was awesome. Well, thank you. It's a limited showing. The Religiflurfs, they get a little more of that. He actually started trying to exorcise a demon of the globe Earth out of me. Completely ineffective, So what does that tell you? If you pray to your God, your deity, to do something, to exorcise a demon out, right? And nothing happens. What does that mean? That means your God doesn't exist. So Daniel Bland, whatever evil piece of crap you were praying to doesn't exist. Or he's super weak. Like, what a pathetic, like, snow globe god? Joke. Total joke. God that made the whole universe? Hey, well, I mean, maybe somebody could get behind that. When looking across the smorgasbords of gods that you could choose from, a god that can only make a tiny little snow globe versus a god that made the entire universe, easy decision for me. PhD Tony says Santos combines the grace and charm of a weaponized smallpox and syphilitic pus with the relentless intellectual effectiveness of naval lint. Well, thank you. That's well spoken, Tony. Very, very well spoken. Chris Fun says this is not Lael. It is. We know it. But since I am king of the flurfs, you have always been afraid to debate me. Lael is not a flurf. Anyway, Ichi Tony said the Gemini missions photos are spectacular. You know what? We can look at them quick. I have a couple linked. Let's see. Gemini. There it is. I only picked up one Gemini and one Mercury just for like broad stuff. So there's Gemini. You can't see the sprockets, but you can see the neighboring frame. And then here's Mercury. Again, now they did not get far enough away to get the entire circle, the whole sphere. But Tony. And these are cool. You know what's really cool about these is a lot of the photographs were actually the photographs where they're practicing their staging. So there's a bunch of neither of these are, but there's I can scroll through a bunch where it shows like the other craft that they were docking with. Look at, this is so cool. To just deny this, what a bunch of losers, seriously. To just say no to this, it's so cool. There you go. That's what I was talking about. So there's a disconnected to that. I'm not certain exactly what they were doing, but they were doing some testing stuff where they like disconnected, flipped around, reconnected. So yeah. Icy Spin says you're quick on the screenshots. He edits his community posts after the fact. What I've seen so far, he does post something and then edits it. Actually, I haven't put it up here. He actually specifically said a while ago that I would be a quadriplegic within a couple weeks. Turns out he was wrong. So anyway, there you go. Cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So back to hi Santos. That's who you are, Santos. What a hate-filled monster he is. Let's see. Indie Tiger Sci-Fi Review says photos of Earth with Spacely's space sprockets. What people? It's right there. I love the Jetsons. The Jetsons are fun. King Crew says still waiting on my book. Well, King Crew, I'm coming. February. You mind if I hand it to you in person? Let's do that. All right. Leslie Rohr says I have a few thousand TIFF files of up to 10 gigabytes, all of which have minor edits. Are they fake? No. In fact, editing a photo does not make it fake. And of course, his his challenge as stated, didn't say anything addressing that topic at all. He just said real/true photograph of the Earth. That was it. That's his criteria. That's it. Super vague. Super vague. Hey, there you go. Hell Tech Industries says, just sent my submission for his 10K challenge. Cannot wait for him to send me my money. Well, congratulations. You will be getting, certainly. He is a truther. He loves truth. He'll definitely be sending it. Janusz Takas. Sorry, I was Janusz. So I sent a, there it is. All right. Rob Parks cannot and hopes to get a rain check. Absolutely. Professor Phil Bell and PhD Tony are on the list. But Professor Phil Bell has a suggestion. So if he's here, or if anybody wants to message him, on maps, this could be a good time. Jim Lotus, who has issued some death threats, a flat earther that's issued death threats, is in the chat. Jim, could you please send me your home address so that I may file the police report? Turns out they need to know your address in order to file the police report for the death threat that you issued. So just send it to me, mctoon@mctoon.net, or you could put it in the live chat here. I'm sure people would appreciate that. So, but yeah, I just had some chicken for dinner, so yum. Jim distracted me. So, Professor Phil Bell. So, if he's here, could somebody message him, because I'm a little busy. And for reference, Shane has not yet even read the messages I sent him. Poor little scaredy Flurf. Randomly Epic says Flurf God is weak. He could only make a pizza. Yeah, and it's a dirt pizza too. Many Karen says MC Toon, the worst rapper in the world and the only Glober to ever undergo a live exorcism. Hey, I made it. Nothing happened to me. What's that say about him? Think about that. If you think that you're about to do an exorcism and you do it and then nothing happens, that says a lot. Melodic Lyric says left unread, Flurfs upping the rude game. Yeah. Yep. Unread. Repo Sandman says press 1 for the core, press 2 for deep impact. Oh geez. 1 for the core, 2 for deep impact. These are movies. Time to vote. 1 for the core, 2 for deep impact. I'm gonna go 2. I'll put it in here. I think 2. Which one had like the laser ray that just like demolished, like turned rock into nothingness? That one I did not like. My suspension of disbelief really fell apart when they got to that part. Deus Ex Tomato says exorcisms are a bit extra biblical anyway. Well, yeah. I mean, there was the pigs, that in the Bible, but I mean I think it's definitely a little bit of Hollywood movie, right? The Exorcist. All right, what do we have for? Let's see, 1s and 2s. We got oh my. I just have to kind of guess here. It's not clear. Oh, it's getting clear too. Deep impact. There it is. PhD Tony says, I have consulted with the solicitors about you're infringing on my debating style. Hey, you can be Krakatoni, I can be Krakatoon. It's okay. There's a couple letters different. 2, 1, if you count the N just in a different spot. So, Mark Beiser says, if the Earth is God's snow globe, what happens to us if he has guests over and one of them picks it up and shakes it? That would suck. Well, oh my gosh. Flurfs are all about misunderstanding fictitious forces lately. So, inertia is a fictitious force then. Centrifugal force is a fictitious force. So by Flurf standards, none of them exist. So, yeah, you could pick up the snow as long as you're touching the surface of the Earth, because they think as soon as you leave the surface of the Earth, you lose all momentum. So as long as you're touching the surface of the Earth while it's being shook, you still are with the Earth, according to them. PJ Tony, extant examples of exorcisms are extremely extra biblical. Working on the alliteration. Very good. Very good. Donald Trump's 110 to 116 indictments. Has a member super chat that says Titicaca with a tab can and dancing, what's his name from Fresh Prince? Let me get. There you go. Nara Cole says, see Flurf run, Flurf run. Indeed. Melodic Lyric says, I like how I'm pretending this will change Santos' mind at all. He could look it up at any time. He could, but this isn't, let's be honest, this isn't to change his mind. This is to poke the little imp. Right? What's better? Just what tickles you more than knowing that this evil little piece of crap here would get 100 emails, 1,000 emails of people saying, you owe me $1.6 million. That thought just warms the heart, doesn't it? I hope it does to you as well. Gary IOW gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for that, Gary. And then, all right, to this is, I'm going to read this. Yanush said, again, data is ready. Please check my math. So I have, of course, the timing was unrelated, but it was very coincident. The challenge that Santos did and my updating of the gravity challenge in just a few days apart were perfectly timed by coincidence. He had his fake challenge and I did my real challenge where I did all those things. The money's in escrow, right? There's independent judging. It's clear, easily measurable, and you can't edit the rules. So I've been working on just to have the background for that, and in the very unlikely case that a flat earther actually tries to do anything. So maybe the thing is, I suck at poker. I don't bluff. I just don't. So when I say, like, I have a bunch of ISGN 71 memberships, measurements, I do. And I have manually entered them. So here's I'm working on a video for this, but I take in the process will be shown in the video. I take the latitude, longitude, I take the elevation, I take the measured gravitational or the downward acceleration at that spot, and I have it in a spreadsheet, and then the rotation, or sorry, the distance from there to the center of the Earth is based on WGS 84. So, and that's a non-trivial calculation. It's not just the ellipticity. You need to actually include some modification on the geoid height in order to do it. I think maybe. Anyway, working on that. And then the tangential velocity needs to be included in there as well in order to get the actual prediction. So I need to do all these things. So those two pieces of data there, the distance from the center of the Earth and the tangential velocity, are entered in a web page and then copy pasted into the spreadsheet. I'm like, that's a pain in the butt, especially if I have a whole bunch. And I've pre-done maybe 50 to 100 manually. And I want to have a whole bunch more. So like today, I imported how many? 57,000 ISGN 71 measurements from Minnesota. It's just publicly available data. It's in a format that's a little, I had to do a lot of editing on the format to get it to import, but now I have a spreadsheet with 57,000 measurements. I'm like, well, I don't want to put into the, I don't want to hand edit all of these, but I want to have that data there and say, look, here's the data. Here's the prediction. Look how much it matches. Where's yours? Oh, you have none. So I asked on my Discord server, could somebody take what's on this web page, plug it in so that it's actually in there. So Janusz is the one that did it. So thank you to Janusz. Janusz. So I'll have to check it later. But I will show you. I'll show you in a minute here. My web page for how I've done that. So, all right, Gary. Did Gary gift another 5? Gary, you're too nice. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary. So a total of 10 memberships have been gifted from Gary. IOW. Delete Laws says, I love this. Buy my trifold now with rubber band action. Well, good for you. Good for you, Delete Laws. Leslie Rohrer says, does powder count? I have seen an M61 cannon turn a concrete tower into dust. Was that for the movie reference? So if I remember right, no, they just had like this beam coming out of the front of this machine that was going to, drill through the earth. And it just basically turned whatever was in front of it into nothing. Maybe it turned it into powder. But yes, an M16 cannon would turn concrete into dust. But it doesn't actually reduce its, how big it is. Because if you're going to core through the earth with that kind of a machine, like is in the movie, and it's sending out some thing in front of it, can't just turn it to dust because dust would still be in your way. You have to make it stop existing, right? And that was a critical part of the movie. I'm like, can't do it. That was the core. Yeah, okay. It says lowered at luminous Pooh. Jim Lotus says fake penguins. Do you think Jim Lotus is listening? Let's see. I'm going to ask. All right. Here goes. He'll definitely see that. Yeah. So Jim, if you go to his channel, that dude's not right. That dude is not right. He is severely screwed up. And it's the kind of person that would make a death threat. So I'm pretty sure he's not a Poe. McBong's Lab says, pretty sure Jim Lotus is a weapons grade Poe. No, he's just really a horrible and stupid person. So so all right, a couple more here, and then Tony, if do you have a chance, Tony? Lord of Luminous Pooh says, how many bad jokes to get a wrench? Give me one more. Give me one more, Lord of Luminous Pooh. One more. And then I'll if it's bad enough, how about that? If it's bad enough, a wrench will be coming your way. All right, there we go. So, all right. All right. See, Tony. So I want to go over some of this gravity stuff with you if you have a chance, because there somebody had sent me, and I knew this, but somebody had sent me an email saying, "Oh, you missed something." And I knew it. I intentionally, I intentionally did it. So I'll go over why with you and see what you think about it. So, all right. So Tony, there it is. Sent. Leslie Rohr says, yes, it was a joke. Yes, I know. But yeah, you think about it. Seriously, a laser, whatever magical powerfulness you could put into a laser that's at the front of a boring machine, how would it work? How could it work? If you actually turned the solid rock into dust, it would maybe be more compact, but not significantly more compact. It's already rock. It's pretty dense already. If you turned it into gas, that would be the opposite of good, because you'd get shot backwards. That's what a gun does. A gun turns solid stuff behind the bullet into gaseous stuff behind the bullet. That's why the bullet flies out. So, all right. Do we have some dad jokes coming? You need to tag me so I know to read them. Niracul says, a bad joke? Flurfs. That is a bad joke. Justin Franks. Oh, it's bringing back bad memories of a bad movie. Don't forget the magical hull that gets stronger as the pressure around it gets higher, and that boring machine had in the movie. Yeah. Wow. Charlie Welch. A dyslexic man walks into a bra. Oh, that's good. Let's check on Shane, how he's doing. Hi, Shane. Yeah, still there? All right. Yep. All right, here comes Lord Illuminous Pooh's bad joke. Says, I don't make fun of the vertically challenged. It's belittling. And they look up to me. Besides, it would go over their heads. That's three. He's already got it. I already gave him a wrench. Melodic lyrics. So what do you call someone who makes dad jokes who isn't a dad? I don't know. What do you call that person? Dewey Cheatham and House is what is common between Jack from the Titanic and the people on the sub? Is it too soon? I don't know. They all wanted the same thing at the very end. And they both wish they had Rose. Naughty for thinking that's funny. Very bad to think that. Cannot. No, not. Very. Anyway. Minnie Karen says, what's DNA? National Dyslexic Association. Tell you, all the acronyms that are French, they have the same problem. CERN? Nope. It's all wrong, in the wrong order. Ba of the QTube family says, if flirts are a bad joke, why do we laugh at them? Well, you know, there's the all right, get out of here, Shane. Shoot. There's this graph. It's on XKCD of movies. I should find it. I should actually pull it up. That's all right. Hold on. Oh, all right. I'm gonna do it. Is this it? There it is. There it is. All right. So there is. This is it. XKCD. So bad it's worse. Pro tip: if you were there, you'll know. Even at bad movie night, avoid the Star Wars holiday special. Yeah, good movie, okay movie, bad movie. See, bad movie. That's where the flirts are. Right there. They're down there at the bottom. They're bad And it's so well. Yeah, sorry, you gotta go back up. You gotta go back up. So bad it's good. So there you got Plan 9, Rocky Horror, Flurfs. But then some of them go, they just keep going. Santos, for example. So uh oh my gosh. That one right there. That Janusz. Did you know that Yoda's last name was Lehihu? Yoda Lehihu. You see, that's Yoda Lehihu. Oh my gosh, Glober Mom, what do you call a cheese that doesn't belong to you? Nacho cheese. Barry the Wall says, what makes Earth so great? It's well-rounded. Eric Burns, astronomers and physicists try to make cool-sounding abbreviations by any means possible. That's not a dad joke. Why did you tag me in that? This is dad joke time. Barry the Wall says, I love the way Earth rotates. It makes my day. Mr. Unite for the chill win. What does down but doesn't come up? A yo. HDMI. Thanks, Extra J. David Brock says, I almost convinced my D&D group to watch the holiday special stream because our DM was sick. Yeah, you probably would have got kicked out. So I'm glad you didn't. Flanker 420. These are getting bad. They're getting worser. Says, what kind of bees make milk? Boobies. Mark Beiser. A priest, a minister, and a rabbit walk into a bar. The rabbit says, I think I'm a typo. Easy, rabbi. Rabbit, rabbi is one letter difference. Oh my gosh, please stop. Please. I should pull up the first submission to the gravity challenge. They're so bad. Dewey Cheatham House says, I know a guy who's addicted to drinking brake fluid, but he says he can stop anytime. Gosh. The Rocket Couch says, 2 cannibals are eating a clown. One of them says, does this taste funny to you? Oh my gosh. Oh, all right, hold on. This I got oh, that was a wet. So it's super humid. It's super humid. So this was just ice a little bit ago. So just a second, there's a point. All right. That's the point. You see, I needed more tab. Okay. All right, that's pretty good, Rocky Couch. Alda Baron 4 says, what did a G say when he dropped a knife on his foot? Ajinomoto. Ajinomoto? I don't know what. I need help. Somebody explain that to me. Critical Thought 2 says, how many days did it take to recover from the Star Wars Holiday Special watch party? Well, funny enough, NASA sends me stuff to recover from things like that. You guys, you got nothing. So, Mouth Breather says, these jokes are both giving me cancer and curing it at the same time. Graybeard says, Joe was a bad sailor. He didn't have a clue. Spelled C-L-E-W. Must be a sailing term. I have no idea. Uh, all right, all right. Let's see. Oh my gosh, it jumped. There's too many. There's so many. Oh my gosh, you people, they're so bad. Why did the elephant? Baux says, why did the elephant paint its toenails red to hide in the apple tree? Never seen an elephant in an apple tree. Works, hey? Oh my gosh. Barry the Well says, two guys walk into a bar, the third one ducks. Narakull says, three men walk into a bar, the fourth ducked. Oh, so bad. Why? Why was this blocked? MJ Steele can say gravity with lots of Y's. King Crew says, three men walk into a bar. Yeah, somebody already said that, King Crew. The Rocket Couch says, two fish are sitting in a tank. One says, I'll man the guns, you drive. Lord Luminous Pooh says, there's two kinds of people. Those that can extrapolate from incomplete data. Deuce X Tomato says, someone asked me for chemical formula for sodium bromide. I said, nah, bro. I've seen that one before. The Rocket Couch says, what's green and misty? Kermit the Fog. Oh my gosh. All right. 5 more. I can't take any more. Rachbot says, why was the mushroom so popular? He's a fun guy. Steve O says, God put all the beautiful girls at the corner of the world, and then he made the world round. Saber 15 says, a priest, a rabbi, and a minister walk into a bar. The bartender said, what is this, a joke? What kind of fish, says Melodic Lyrics, what kind of fish is made out of 2 sodium atoms? Oh, this one's bad. Tuna. Many Karen says, what do cannibals call an airplane? A banana?
And food.
I don't know. Hello, Tony.
Hello.
Let me get rid of Shane Gold. Let's see here.
Yeah, I went to school with a guy called Shane Gould. So an Australian guy called Shane Gould, and it actually looked somewhat similar, but not the same guy. So
I hope not, man. He's quite a piece of work. But yeah, so he twice ducked out. So no more. All right, you're on screen now.
hello.
Hello. All right, so I've been working on a whole bunch of gravity stuff, and then I see like these, and I read it as booger, but it's you say it differently. What's the right way?
Bugay.
Bouguet. He must be French.
Yep.
Something like that. Anyway, so there's this Bouguet data that's in there. But I could pull up, let's see here. Let me set up a scene here. So, but first let me tell you this. How I do the prediction. I take the WGS 84 sea level plus the elevation.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives the distance to the center of the Earth. Plug that into the formula for the gravitational field, right? A equals G mass of the Earth over R squared. And then I get the tangential velocity at the latitude and elevation. And when I get that, I use that and I don't do anything. There's a step I'm skipping intentionally here. I take that and I just use that tangential velocity and do the centrifugal force for it. But that's an intentional skipping of something. And do you know what it is?
Well, there are rotational effects on the tangential velocity, right? Your distance from the axis of rotation is changing through time. So that's an effect. One of the other things that I'm a bit concerned about is that if you're just using the G/m/r calculation, you're ignoring any density variations or local
I
local
am.
gravitational effects. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And how
Um,
deep? So the question to you is, how deep are those variable? Is the before
so
you get
the
significant digit changes?
so the significant digit changes are not so you can easily get many mellogals. So typically when you look at the plots of Earth's gravitational field, they're plotted up in milligauss, which is 10 to the -5 meters per second squared, because a gal is a centimeter per second squared. So they're quite small effects, but you could be kicking into the fourth or maybe even the third decimal place at some points.
Really?
So yeah, though you uh for instance, the if you look at geoid height varies between about 95 meters to -105 meters.
Yeah.
So the
And
geoid,
and for reference, geoid height is based on gravity. It varies because
yes,
of gravity.
that's,
So when I
yeah,
do the calculation, I specifically do not include geoid height because this is about predicting the amount, the magnitude of the downward acceleration. I can't
yeah,
include gravity in it. It's circular.
right, okay, all right. Then in which case, that's fine. That's a decent enough approximation. Did I get your mystery missing step, or have I?
I no. So here's the Earth. Here we got the axis here going through
Mhm.
it. And so then this is, I'm approximating that this is at 45 degrees, right? So then what I do is I get and say they're on a mountain, I get the distance to the center of the Earth.
Yeah.
And I use that for the gravitational field, which is
Hmm.
excludes variations in density, which can't easily be done. You have to have a whole bunch of
Yeah.
tabular data to do that. And it
Yeah.
relies on gravity to actually measure that, basically, right?
Well, yeah, there are observations of it, but there exists a data set that you can just use. I think there are spherical harmonic expansions for the gravitational field that you could use if you were getting really fancy about it. But go on.
Okay. So, and I use the tangential velocity here, but as if centrifugal force goes in this direction, but it does not.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Centrifugal force
So
goes.
when you said you were using centrifugal force, I was assuming that you had actually done that.
I
You got
intentionally did not.
okay, all right.
And the
So
reason why I did not is just to simplify it. Because as it is, it's 2 steps.
mhm.
You have to apply algebra twice, which
Right.
is 3 times more than any flat earther can do.
It is 3 times more than any flat earther can do. It's a but I will point out that sort of your diagram is slightly wrong, isn't it?
Um,
In that arrow should be at the top of the mountain.
oh, yes, you're right. You're right. So, but yeah, so it is, that's the correct one. I'm using this here,
I
not,
do like that it's increasing in magnitude as you go on.
yes,
It's just getting bigger and bigger.
which is correct. The top of a mountain versus the bottom of a mountain. But yeah, to do it right, and actually, I created this in 2019 when I first wrote this, and I haven't modified it since then. And I knew then that there's this component. Yeah, you actually have to take the latitude
Yeah.
and apply sine cosine function to actually get the amount, because the other thing is centrifugal force will slightly vary the angle of the vector
Yes.
when you sum them together, right? You've got the downward towards the center of the Earth assuming zero density variations.
Yep.
And then the centrifugal acceleration is not in the same direction, right? So gravity goes this direction.
Yep.
This, right? I didn't do
Yep.
that too well. So, but when you sum the vectors, it's going to be slightly off of center. But, and here's why I said I'm okay with that, because I tested it, number one. But number two,
Mhm.
because as you go farther north, the amount of centrifugal force also decreases. So it gets less important to have the centrifugal force correct as you get farther north. And of course, when you're really up here, there's essentially no centrifugal force.
Yep.
So that's why I did it that way. Imagine there's no trigonometry in it as it is. Imagine adding trigonometry. It's literally their kryptonite.
Well, I mean, but the reality is that you don't need the first to understand the method that you outline. You only need the chapters to understand it. So yeah, no, I can understand you trying to spare their feelings, but it's
I want to be also, it's not just for them, right? There's other people that you do math,
might be
right?
interested.
Yeah. I can do it because I've had to brush up on topics that I haven't covered since school. But if people that don't do trigonometry ever, to just throw trigonometry out there, like, oh, what do I do? So
yeah,
I wanted to keep it,
understandably so. But sort of that you can almost infinitely disappear into the weeds with this sort of thing. Early last year, my group published a paper. I had developed a schema for modeling mass distributions on Earth's surface, and sort of the traditional element is that the GRACE missions have a spatial resolution of 300 kilometers. And so everybody was using 300 kilometer mass concentrations, mass cons as they're called.
Station state, take it.
Sorry?
I'm prepping something. Never mind.
Okay. I sort of pointed out that actually it's wrong to treat them as point sources if the satellite is nearby, the satellite is close enough, that actually the spread of mass over the 300 kilometers is large. And so we came up with this sort of new higher resolution way of doing it. And we also had the option of, putting it at the topography, saying that the mass change occurs at the topography, at the geoid or wherever. And we got ripped into in the reviews. Like they didn't like the fact that, this is an entirely negligible effect. There's no point including it. Well, it may be negligible, but we can include it. So, why not? It's zero cost for us to do this. So I think they're just snarky.
Yeah, that's interesting that they didn't like that you used it. Huh.
Well, their point would be you haven't demonstrated that this has a significant effect on the calculations.
Oh, okay.
Which is true, and
it's superfluous.
Yes, it doesn't really change the accuracy of anything at all. But it's something you can do. The main advantage of this technique is that it avoids signal leakage, which is something that we have a problem that we have with the GRACE data.
You wouldn't want signal leakage.
Well, for instance, you can get a land signal that leaks into the oceans, or an ocean signal that leaks into the lands. That sort of you get misattribution of signal. And this is, I've brought it up a couple of times. It's very natural to want to use spherical harmonics to represent gravitational or electrostatic potential.
Oh,
because
hold on a second. You put those words together, and some flirt's going to cherry pick them.
yeah, they are going to cherry pick, but both electrostatic potential and gravitational potential are conservative fields, right? They conserve energy. As long as you move the particle along a closed path, its potential energy at the end and at the beginning will be the same, provided there's been no change in the distribution of charge or mass. And that means mathematically the solutions are harmonic functions. So it's very tempting to want to use harmonic functions, and indeed, sort of you spent a lot of time studying it. So any tool that comes up, you want to hit it with harmonic functions, but they're not actually very good at drawing a sharp line between, say, an ocean and land. So they're actually the wrong tool for this job. And I don't think people like hearing that, but regardless. I'm descending into academic trivia here, so you need to stop me.
Well, Pythagoras says the solution probably involves triangles. Leave it to Pythagoras to say such a thing.
I think, yeah, but there's a conflict of interest there. I'm pretty sure he gets royalty checks every time.
Yeah. So somebody suggested that we could tune in to see what Whitsid is derping about.
Oh, we could, yeah.
He is. The title is Relatively Speaking, Episode 9. So he is getting relativity wrong the 9th time.
All right. Well, we could have a look at it.
This is a good question from UK Lemons. Hi, PhD Tony MC Toon. Can you tell us how Earth's mass was first calculated with any degree of accuracy? The first time that I know of was specifically Cavendish.
Yeah, that was so the whole point is we know R with some certainty. So calculating, so from observations of gravitational acceleration at the surface, we know GM, the product of the gravitational constant, the universal gravitational constant, and the mass of the Earth. So in order to get some separation between the two, Cavendish was trying to work out the gravitational constant so that he could work out what the mass was. The Schehelian experiment was similarly an attempt to work out the density of the Earth, but that was under the assumption that the density of a mountain would be the density of the Schehelian mountain would be representative of the density of the Earth. But yeah, Cavendish was the first person to do this. And it's one of the reasons why G is not so well known, is because you need a really large mass in order for it to be, precisely measurable. And once you've got a really big mass, you're not very certain about the mass. So we need to, there's a trade-off between the two variables. The product of the two, we're very certain about. But so it's one of the reasons.
When you have a really large mass, you're not certain about.
Well, for the moon, the mass of the moon, or the mass of the Earth, and that sort of thing.
That kind of big.
Sun. Yes, that's right. Okay. That kind of big.
Because you could, for example, use 13 tons of mercury. That's a lot of mass.
Yes,
it's been done.
But yeah, and you know its mass reasonably precisely, but the gravitational effect of 13 tons of mercury is not that big. Is not as big as we would like in order to get the gravitational effect out, especially when we're operating inside Earth's gravitational field. So, near the surface. So it's one of the interesting sort of aspects of this, is that the product of these two things we know quite well, but the gravitational constant is not easy to separate.
So this is a good question, I think. Are there ways other than by measuring the gravitational constant that we know the mass of the Earth?
Ways other than
that doesn't involve G.
Well, we can do that. I think we can do calculations in terms of the masses of other objects. right? So we can calculate, we can do calculations of Earth's mass as a proportion of lunar mass, or Earth's mass as a proportion of solar mass, for instance, by looking at the character of the relative motions of each, and their separations. But given that we don't know, unless we have precise details for their masses, I don't think we're really that better off. So,
Right.
or I can't think of one. Is a better way to put it.
Maybe we can return to that if anybody has an answer to that one.
Yeah,
that would be good. All right, I'm gonna get this. Do you need to see him or just want to hear him?
I want to see him because my impression now is that this is a man with an extreme comb over.
Whitsit?
Yeah.
He's wearing a hat. He always wears a hat.
And I think you notice this about flat earthers a lot, that they're very unwilling to admit that they're going bald.
All right. Well, there
and
he
he
is.
dyes his beard. It's quite obvious that he dyes his beard, which I consider a sign of vanity.
You think he dyes his beard?
I'm pretty certain he does. Yes.
Really? Oh.
It's very uniform in color.
That's how they're trying to
that's a poll I'm going to start here. All right, let's listen in.
Being the different values in the Hubble constants that they've measured, which should be the same. Okay, but you have to understand that they also have introduced the inflationary model to try to explain away the horizon problem and the flatness problem, right? Say, oh well, really, sure, it makes no logical or even mathematical possibility sense, like no sense in even terms of mathematical possibility that you would have exactly the right amount of density that the universe expands and is flat. Now think about what we're talking about. Combine all the matter and all the energy in the universe, so you have mass over volume. That's what density is of the whole universe and their paradigm. All the matter, all the volume, mass over volume, you get a density value. Think about how big that is in there. Okay, and that value just so happens to equal just the right amount that it's so mind-blowingly close to 0.080 zeros. Okay, so mind-blowingly close to zero that the universe expanded flat. Because that's what the observation showed. Logically speaking,
didn't expand flat.
There's about a kabillion.
He's just babbling incoherently. The universe isn't flat. The universe has structure. I don't understand what he's talking about. And also the curvature of space-time is not constant. This is the whole point, right?
Yeah. So it bears explaining when you say universe is flat. It's not the same as flat earthers saying that the earth is flat. It's a different flatness. Can you explain that maybe?
So we talk about the curvature of space-time, which is the rate at which it's the rate at which the passage of time changes. If space-time is very curved, then the rate at which time is passing changes very quickly as you change position. This is kind of what's going on. And to say that the universe is flat is to say that that there's very little curvature of space-time. I'm not, this is moving outside of my academic speciality, but it seems to me like Whitsitt is just peddling a falsehood here. Space-time is not flat, and the claim that it is, the curvature may be small, but that, if it's that small, then the odds of, you could even increase it by a factor of 200, and it would still be small. So, or you could decrease it by a factor of 200 and it would be even smaller. And he would still be making the same argument. So he's got this estimate of global curvature, And he's saying it's an incredible coincidence that it's worked out this way. I don't believe it. It's absolutely unconvincing.
Right. Well, I think he was about to lay some incredulity out by saying large numbers, and so let's hear his large number. I can't believe it because the numbers are large.
So mind-blowingly close to zero that the universe expanded flat, because that's what the observations show. Logically speaking, there's about a billion, trillion, zillion different possibilities.
Logically speaking, I can make up some numbers that don't actually exist, and I don't like the fact that they're large. Yes, sort of but none of the, this entire line of argument is simply fallacious nonsense. The odds of the universe turning out the way it has, as far as I'm concerned, are 1. The universe had a 100% of turning out this way. It has not been demonstrated that there is any other way a universe can exist than this one. So the idea that it's improbable, well, it's the only one we have. It's 100% of our sample, of our observational sample. All of the observational evidence. Yes, you can't do statistics on it. This is not a meaningful conversation to be having. You need to prove that there exist a bunch of other universes and have a look at how things vary between them. Since you can't do that, you can't make a statistical argument. It's nonsense.
Yeah. All right.
That would show you universe not being flat, be curving. Logically speaking, it's obviously going to curve either positive or negatively, because it's not going to be right at zero and make it look flat. But the only thing that can explain and match the observations within their paradigm when they look at the sky is that it's flat. Okay? So they have a problem. Call this a fine-tuning problem. Think about the odds. Think about the whole universe, how big they say it is, how insignificant they say we are, our position is, how big it is. Take that mass, take it over volume, get a density. That value should not be right at zero. The odds of that equaling out like that are insane.
It's not zero.
Yeah, the density of the universe is not zero.
It's a small number, and he has a hard time with that.
Yeah, it's but this is actually the paradox of black holes. Actually, the larger the radius of the black hole, the lower the density you need. You don't actually need very dense matter.
Yeah, the Schwarzschild radius.
Yeah,
and I've seen people say, and you kind of have to play a little bit with the numbers, but say the observable universe and the mass of the observable universe suggests that we could be inside of a black hole because of the Schwarzschild radius.
I mean, by definition, light can't escape the universe. So in terms of a sheer mechanical definition, yeah, we're inside a black hole. But to interpret that in any sort of, look at a black hole, there must be a universe inside it. That's not the same thing by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway.
Impossible. Okay? So that's why it's a fine-tuning problem. It defies odds to such a great extent that it must require some type of intention, determination, dare I say, creator or fine-tuner. That's why it's a fine-tuning problem. Okay, so they came up with an idea saying that there's the inflation model, that at the beginning, there was such a rapid expansion. It was so much different than the rest. This inflation, and they even go as far as to talk about what did he call it? The inflaton? The inflaton. Dude, anytime you don't know something, just throw the word TON at the bottom of it, at the end of it, say it's a particle, and that's science. Pseudoscientific ton.
Neutrino.
Well,
it doesn't end in ton, but
yeah, the Higgs boson. He's talking here about, he's drawing a distinction here between theoretical science and
confirmation
physical,
of those
confirmational
ideas,
science, or so to suggest a hypothesis that such a thing might exist is perfectly valid in a scientific sense. You then go looking for what evidence there might be or there might remain confirming your hypothesis. To propose a hypothesis is entirely a part of the scientific method, and I know that Whitsitt doesn't like it, but he's got absolutely no understanding of
Well,
what
yeah,
science is.
for Witsit, pseudoscience is whatever he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Um, and typically that's science deniers when they talk, when they pretend like they like science. They yeah, pseudoscience is whatever they don't like.
Yeah, but I mean, it happens all the time. Like, you will hear serious scientists talking about how the universe appears fine-tuned. And then when you say, well, can you show me the probability density function that you're using? They go, okay, well, I don't have one of those, but it doesn't seem like it. I've gone, yeah, I don't care what you think or what it seems like. Show me your evidence. If you insist on that, they sort of back down. But scientists will throw, and simulation theory. People throw around simulation theory. Simulation theory is completely unscientific. And it just begs the question. You're saying that there's a real reality somewhere, but this isn't it because it's infinitely more likely we're in a simulation, even though you can't show me a single simulation that exists. You can't prove the existence of the simulations you're claiming there are infinitely many of. So it's logical. It reduces up its own fundament. Okay. Anyway.
It's so goofy, dude. The graviton, the inflaton. You needed a new model to explain away all these problems. So it's like, oh, let's go inflation, inflaton. And this inflaton turned into matter and particles eventually. We just didn't know. Okay. Now what they have, and you're not gonna hear this almost anywhere, which is weird. When you
because you're wrong, Witsit. You're just full of crap. That's why you won't hear it anywhere else.
try to combine.
Tony, this is how big his ego is. You won't hear it anywhere else. And he's like, because he's so right, he's got that in his head. Like, he thinks he's so right about this. But no, the reason why you won't hear it anywhere else is because it's all crap.
Yeah.
This inflation excuse, this ad hoc excuse to explain away the horizon and flatness problem and many other problems. Take the inflation I did. And then you try to explain away the Hubble tension problem. Again, the rate of expansion measured. Now, the universe is not actually expanding, they just assume it. Based on their assumptions, they have to interpret certain data a certain way, so they're trapped within their own pseudoscientific religious parameters.
Oh my gosh. He just throws that out.
Yeah, well, he's scalloping for the, it's...
Oh yeah, for his...
It's quite clear to, I tried to watch the first 5 minutes of him prattling about tides, and he's gibbering and giggling at his own cleverness, while he's clearly a demented ignoramus. It's amazing.
So they have different values. They shouldn't be different. Like, oh, well, at the beginning, dark energy must have been different. The cosmological energy, the cosmological constant must have been different at the beginning, must have been greater. So when they try to combine early dark energy to inflation, it doesn't work. You can't have both of them. So their lies have imploded in on themselves, where they are stuck. They have to invoke inflation to try to ad hoc explain away all these other discrepancies. The inflaton, okay, that turned into matter, right? It just so happened that the inflaton flattened out all the curvature to make it appear like it was perfectly flat.
But it doesn't. And keep in mind, he offers nothing.
Yeah.
He is
offer...
hand waving away the stuff that he doesn't understand and has no position to be able to refute other than personal incredulity, and offers in its place exactly nothing.
Yes. People find him plausible, which just sort of beggars belief. Anyway.
Yeah, somebody said watch his chat if you can handle it.
Clive Wells says there are many particles that could have played the role of the inflaton in these toy models. Well, exactly. That, a lot of this cosmological speculation is speculation. And, you can try and pursue it and see if we're going to be able to eventually observe anything. But it's, but none of this permits the overlooking of the evidence that the Earth is spheroidal, that we observe gravitational time dilation experimentally, that we observe special relativistic time dilation in particle accelerators, that we can demonstrate the accuracy and robustness of general relativity and special relativity across more than 30 orders of magnitude of the observable universe. It's an incredibly successful theory. You don't get to abandon it just because there are problems at the farther edges. This is not how science works.
Yeah, if when there was an issue with the edges, or the leading edge of science, of physics, whatever, then you say, oh, if you don't have an answer to that, then everything else related to it gets thrown away. Well, no. Every single part of science has some part of it that we don't know.
Yes.
There's no part of science where we have check, done. We've never gotten there.
Phil Bell makes an amazing point here.
I was about to read it.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Off you go.
All right. Well, he says Witless wants to argue at the cutting edge of astrophysics, while he literally can't explain to a child why it gets dark at night. And that, I mean, there's so much in that statement. When you asked him in a debate, you're like, well, why does it get dark at night? He says, inverse square law, light extinction. What?
He had
Perspective.
He had this weird thing about the personal, perspective thing that made the star movements work on a flat Earth.
Azimuth of grid of vision.
Yes, azimuth of grid of vision.
It's just 4 words. All he has is words.
And it's just, that is meaningless, and when you challenge him on this, he goes, what does that mean? He goes, well, I'm sorry, you don't know what words mean. Well, actually, words have combinations of words have particular meanings. The term spherical harmonics has a particular mathematical meaning. It doesn't make any sense to anybody who isn't aware of it. So I would have to explain it if somebody asked me what it meant. You can't just throw out words and say that. And I'd just like to say, hello, I'm Phil Bell. It is a joy to see you, sir. It's great that sort of Clive Wells and Phil and Professor Parks are around it. I'm always happy to see them and to hear what they're saying, because I just like being around intelligent people who have stuff worth hearing.
All right, let me. I'm a little behind on some stuff here. I got to read it. Let's see here. In Lord Illuminous Pooh says, in brightest day or darkest night, it's not my problem. I'll be all right. No, because your name is worth the fight. But if I'm bored, then yeah, I might. Gray Lanterns of Apathy.
Gray Lanterns of Apathy. You have to be a bit of a DC nerd to get that one.
Oh, well, or you could live in Minnesota and have heard and be a fan of High School Ultimate Frisbee and have heard the Edina team chant.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because their team chant is the Green Lantern thing.
In Ultimate over there, do you guys sing songs to one another after the game?
No.
So when
that a thing?
We played in Australia, it is. So after the game, the teams at a tournament anyway. There was a tournament, and after each game in the tournament, we had to get together and sing a song about the game and the other team.
Wow.
Sort of you sit around for 5 minutes coming up with a song that you want to sing, and you go across and you sing it.
That's a lot.
It's obviously you're sort of scavenging existing tunes and just sticking new words in them in there, but it's
we just do. They stand in a circle afterwards, alternating players, and then typically like the captains or the leaders of the team will say, "Hey, you did a great thing. You did a great thing." So
sorry.
Yeah. All right. Uh, Many Karen says the world is made of 1-0 type of people. Those who understand binary and those who don't.
Yeah, I would have said 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fact base is 2 eggs in bed getting hot. 1 egg puts on a tin hat. Girl egg asks why. Last time I was this hard, someone hit me over the head with a spoon. Gosh. It took a while. Fact
I'm not
base,
sure.
but thank
I'm
you
not
for
sure
that.
they should be sending in jokes of that character to a 13-year-old. Feels almost like grooming.
It's all right. Double entendre.
Okay.
Nah, no
All right.
13-year-old would get it. Sniper Milk says
You're
yo,
13, aren't you?
yeah, officially.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't get it. It completely went over my head.
All right. Went over your head. Okay. Well, that's a release. You're morally intact.
Yes. Yo, good to see you, Toon, says Sniper Milk. Well, thank you, Sniper Milk. I like that name. Anthony Fox says, hopefully Shane is currently trying to win your gravity challenge. Honestly, all flirts kind of need to STFU until they can win that. Well, we'll wait. If you look at the YouTube comment section, has a few dummies on it, right? They come in and they spew a whole bunch of crap about why they think gravity doesn't exist, and then they say pay up. Like, that's not the challenge. The challenge is to provide a alternative mechanism for it that gives an actual number, something no flurf has ever done for any of the problems for flat earth. They've never actually given a number for anything. How far away does the sun need to be to set? Don't know. It doesn't make sense because the sun is closer to the North Pole on December 21st than it is to places where it's visible in Australia or South America. The distance is inconsistent. How high is the sun? Well, every time they try that, you test it. Like, oh, so they stop saying that.
Yeah. It's one of the weird things. I say one. It's just, they don't seem capable of retaining the problems that exist with their the stuff that they need to explain that they can't explain. It just feels weird to me. Anyway, it's
They got nothing. And they know it. That's the other thing. They know they don't have anything. Right?
yeah.
So, all right. Let's see what else he has to say. We got a little. It's so derp dense.
And then you had to bring in early dark energy. Wait, what's dark energy? How are we giving like ages to something we can't define? Early, we don't know. That's what? Okay. So you take the early dark energy to try to explain away discrepancies, and then you take the inflaton, the inflationary aspect of the mantra. They can't bring them together for all kinds of reasons. Now, I know that some people are like, oh, this is just too much, but Kristen Johnson, thank you for the 10 What's It Gets It memberships, bro. What a legend. That is very generous, brother. And then look, there's a frequent anti-flat earther here, and he's like, live delusions with the popcorn emoji. He doesn't know anything about what I'm talking about. He doesn't even know anything about it. Nothing.
You know who doesn't know anything about what you're talking about, Witsit? You. It doesn't. Yeah. None of this matters. And Daryl Frost asked, do I know about Big Bang? It doesn't. I'm a flat Earth debunker. You only need middle school math and science, right? Witsit, like Professor Phil Bell said, Witsit can't explain one thing about flat Earth. Not one thing. And he thinks that saying that whoever was in here can't, isn't familiar with these concepts, which it isn't, but it doesn't matter. You can't explain flat Earth. All this is just a diversion. This is Witsit's attempt to not talk about flat Earth while convincing people that the Earth is flat.
Well, it's his. So he's building up a cult of personality. So the
Yes.
idea is, and if you talk to flat earthers, they'll go on about how clever Whitsitt is and how great he is and how he's going to be the person to dispel this 500-year-old myth of the spheroidal Earth. And it's a cult of personality, but he sees himself, his mental image of himself is as a defender of religion.
Yeah.
He feels that he is his role is to defend Christianity from any and all threats. So
but he's not a Christian. He'll tell you that.
But he'll argue against evolution. He'll argue against the age of the Earth. He'll argue against the existence of space. He'll argue about the shape of the Earth.
Yeah.
And when he was on your channel after my debate with him, he was trying to manipulate your religious convictions to drive a wedge between you and the channel. But this is based on a fallacy. Religion and science are answering different questions. They're not in tension. They're not in conflict. Both can exist as long as the religion stays out of science. Science isn't interested in telling you whether or not a supernatural entity exists. It's not interested in telling you whether or not your experience of God is real. It's not interested in telling you, whether your personal moral code is right or wrong. Those are decisions you make without science. You and religion can play a very important role. I was religious for 35 years. It played an incredibly important role in me maintaining my emotional well-being and my mental health. And I'm not at all inclined to sort of aggressively attack that, destroy that for other people. That's not science's role. But science's role is to determine what we know and how we know it. We don't, quite frankly, in a scientific sense, we don't know that God exists. People are free to believe their personal experiences, et cetera, but we don't know scientifically. It's not a scientific question. So I kind of think that sort of there's this artificial tension here. And it shouldn't be there, but I'm prattling.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. And when I say he's very clear that he's not a Christian, he was raised that way, but he's moved on through flat Earth to this other version of religion.
He's transcended, has he?
Yes, he's definitely transcended. Right. So he's smarter in his own head. He thinks he's smarter than all of the Christians.
Right.
That's typical narcissist, right? He thinks that he's better at cosmology than professional cosmologists. He thinks he's better at geography than professional geographers. He thinks he's better at seismology than professional seismologists. He thinks he's better at religion than any religious leader. It goes in line with his standard procedure. Screwy Louie says, "Hey MC Toon, weird question, but who do you think is the most intelligent flat earther?" What do you think, Tony?
The most intelligent flat earther, Ranchi.
No, that's stayed. That's still...
that is still a flat earther.
Yeah.
I would say that Whitsitt is actually, by many objective measures, Whitsitt is intelligent. He's got a good recollection. He's very fast on his feet. He does have intellectual ability. He just abuses it to present lies. And maybe that's a result of him being deranged. He certainly seems deranged to me.
Yeah, his narcissism brings it out in a lot of very unwell ways.
Yeah. So, but he's, but in an objective sense, I would be lying if I said I thought he was dumb. And I think that he is, and I think that this is why flat earthers routinely gravitate towards him, because he does effectively present himself as intelligent. But he's not actually good at properly formulating data and considering it objectively. He's not capable of that. So he's got sort of a raw intelligence, but he's got zero training and zero ability to productively direct it.
I see what you're saying, and he certainly is above a lot of them. But I think that it's he's projecting a lot of things, and the narcissism makes him project that he's smarter than he actually is, and see, he can't do math.
I'm not saying he is. He's objectively smart. I mean,
but I think what I mean by that is he's not. I don't think he's in that top range. But
he
absolutely projects himself to be trying to be above the other smarter flat earthers. So to me,
okay.
To answer the question, I think Rachie is one of the smartest, and I know you and Rachie have some history.
Yeah,
but she can do math.
She can do math, but she's also she is to my mind the main issue I have with Rachie is that she's she has done some objectively dim things, like when she filmed something on her floor and the curve of the floor was obstructing it, and you go, there you go, that's why ships go over the floor's curved, and you kind of feel like, well, if I have to explain that to you, you can't be that bright. I will Rachie, the frustrating thing about Rachie is that she is completely caught in a religious mindset. Her religion,
and she's not a religious person.
She was quoting Bible verses to me the other day.
Really?
So, yep. So
I didn't think she was.
So she, J.L. Warren was interviewing somebody, and she was in the chat, and she was expressing her skepticism about the age of the Earth, and quoting Thessalonians or Romans to me, along with a couple of other verses, to make the case that you must prove stuff to accept that it is true. You can't just take people's word for it. And then somebody else said, well, that's the King James version. That's not a very reliable translation. And she said, well, I was told it was a very reliable translation. I go, well, you just took somebody's word for it.
Yeah.
So, it's the person was saying that in the original Greek, it is, you must test whether or not something is true. And which is a far more reasonable thing to say than you must prove. But it's
all right. Let's
anyway.
Many Karens talks about effed up world. Joe Hill says he's completely gaga, but not dumb. I think so. This is a good point. Joe Hill, effed up world. He is honest enough in one way to see that satellites are launched on rockets and NASA puts them in space. He doesn't say that NASA's faking it.
Right. Okay.
So he sees those things well enough, right? He doesn't have a background, in these topics very much, but he at least sees that the the ridiculous claim that somehow they're faking all these, rockets. How many rockets will go up this year from Kennedy Space Center, right? Well over 100.
Yep.
Right. If they're just faking it, and who are they faking it for? You could send one a year if you're just faking it. You say,
Yeah.
oh well, it was hard. So
yeah, the whole faking it doesn't make a lick of sense. But I mean, sort of I'm not sure that I accept that as a measure of intelligence necessarily.
yeah.
I accept that as sort of an ability to be objective about a particular piece of evidence. But that's I think that's distinct. So if you look at, for instance, Nash and his descent into schizophrenia, doubtless a very intelligent person.
Who?
But bonkers. So I think intelligence and ability to accept elements of reality are independent from one another. But it's an interesting question. But yeah,
it's a difficult question because they are all dumb.
Yeah,
in
they
some
are all
way,
dumb.
right?
Yep.
To not even get the basic trigonometry. It's not even trigonometry, right? Basic geometry that the sun could never say.
Yeah. Well, so when I say that Whitsitt is smart, I mean that he's smart by the standards of a flat earther. I'm not saying that he is objectively
in this. It's like, which is the least smelliest poo in the in the pig lagoon?
The fact that he is simply too stupid to realize the evidence against him and acknowledge it. And I think in fact he knows that he's lying. When he was on screen with us, he sort of stopped what he was saying and goes, "I would murder you in a debate." And my first thought, well, then I'm lucky this isn't a debate. This is a discussion of fact where the facts are on my side. So if you don't think this is a debate, then you're acknowledging the same thing, all right? So it's just I think he realizes that sort of the facts are against him, so he's got to do all of this bullshit to sort of conceal that. And he's the azimuth of perspective or whatever the hell it is. I can't even bother remembering.
Azimuthal grid of vision.
Azimuthal grid of vision is meaningless, prattling nonsense.
It literally is pseudoscience, actually, because how do you test that?
Well, he asserts that it is the evidence by which one can demonstrate that the Earth is flat, whereas in fact it's a mechanism by which to explain away the observable motions of celestial objects. Anyway.
All right. From Leslie Rohrer to you, Tony. He says, talking about the flatness of the universe. He says, to understand why the universe is flat and what that means, read A Universe from Nothing, Why There's Something Rather Than Nothing by Lawrence Krauss.
Well, yeah. I kind of think that the answer to that question is if there was nothing, you wouldn't be able to ask the question. So, there's something because there was always something, then there will always be something at all points in time. Now, whether or not time is infinite, I don't know. Maybe it's circular, maybe it's bounded. These are questions we cannot at the moment answer, and I doubt that we ever will. But it seems like the most pointless thing to say. The universe exists, therefore there must exist something else that made the universe. Well, really, because what made that thing? It's
circular.
Yeah. And again, it departs from the evidence. The evidence is that the universe exists. There is no evidence that anything else outside of or causing the universe exists. So we should stick with the minimum requirements that the evidence demands of us. That's my attitude anyway.
All right. Got, I've never heard such behavior in the war room before, says Hi Tune. Hi. Connell Silverfur says, with all his word salad, let's not forget that time Whitsitt showed he didn't know the difference between orbit and rotation in front of 700 people. Yeah, he likes to play the word games, but he can't. If you're going to be a stickler, you should kind of get it right.
Yes, you should know the distinction between the terms that you're using and how to maintain them. And it's one of the things that a lot of flat earthers can't even correctly formulate the question that they're trying to ask. And they think that it's a meaningful question when it's gibbering nonsense. You haven't given me any of the context. A flat earther asked me yesterday, when does gravity attract one grain of sand to another grain of sand? And how can you build a planet? Well, they're completely different questions.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to go into the details of planetary formation, fine, but that's got nothing to do with whether or not grains of sand attract grains of sand via gravitation.
They think that's a gotcha.
Yes.
In their ignorance.
Yeah.
All right. Lord Illuminous Pooh says, there are things we don't know because we're still learning. They stopped and are filling holes with nonsense.
Yeah.
They did, yeah. Not only did they stop learning, they rejected what they've learned. Right? They learned things and then they're like, no, that was wrong. I'm going to reject it all, and they replace it with nothing. So, Kyle Silverfirst says, I'm ignorant of a lot of stuff. The difference is I admit it. I can learn. Austin and other flurfs choose ignorance and turn it into stupidity. Just kind of said that. Caucasian Sensation says, quote, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. Attributed to I don't know who.
Well, it's an observation that's made in Men in Black, where a human is smart. Humans are dumb, fearful animals that panic.
Miles Wilson says, I know the debater is finished when the flurf has no evidence for a flat earth and spends all his effort in esoteric arguments. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like the guy last week, he's like, you look up in firmament in Strong's Concordance. Like, that doesn't change the shape of the earth.
Yeah,
that's how stupid it is.
It's an irrelevance, and he's hoping he was really coming in to sort of try and enmesh you into a theological discussion involving translations and interpretations of archaic biblical terminology.
And the only thing you can accomplish in all of that, if you successfully convince somebody or successfully make the case, not convince, if you successfully make the case that the Bible says something like, I'll say it again, if you successfully make the case claiming that the Bible says the earth is flat, all you've succeeded in is showing that the Bible's wrong.
Yes. And I mean, the Bible, the Bible is demonstrably inaccurate in many of the things that it asserts as true, and this is largely a result of the people who wrote it down not knowing the right answers, and that's fine. You accept that whenever you read something, you should be asking yourself, the author of this thing, who were they? What were their characteristics? What are they trying to convince me of?
And who was their audience?
Yes, and who was their audience? How were they trying to persuade their audience? You should always be bearing this in mind. and it allows you to sort of differentiate the spurious from the meaningful in a work like the Bible. There are meaningful things in the Bible, but there are also some spurious things that should just be ignored.
Yeah, I think a good point is when describing the temple, there's the basin that is 30 cubits around the perimeter and 5 cubits or to 10 cubits in diameter. Not 31, right? They could have easily said 31, right, instead of 30, because that would have been more precise.
Yeah.
It's not a science book. It doesn't need to be precise. Here's what it looked like. Yes. I didn't get a cubit measuring stick out and it doesn't matter. It's okay. It's not the point.
Yeah, that's not the point of the entire exercise. And I think that people who are for that style of personality, faith is not enough. They need their stuff to be didactically true. They need to be. Austin Whitsitt needs to be a guru who is leading people to a greater truth.
It feeds his narcissism.
Yeah. Exactly.
And probably for now leaves the people in his life kind of a bit safer from that narcissism.
Yeah.
Because this is feeding it. It's answering those things that he wants. If this was gone, where would that narcissism come out?
Yeah, well, that's the that is the difficulty with all of this. So as soon as he's not getting the attention that he thinks that he's owed and deserved, that's going to turn into something very negative. I think he would be best. I think he would be best advised getting help. And it seems sort of trite to say this, but I seriously think that he does need help.
It won't do well for him in his interpersonal relationships in the future. And my guess is he got to where he was an outcast socially and fell into flat earth and was accepted by flat earth because of his previous issues with their interpersonal problems that he couldn't handle. Right? He's talked about a bit how he didn't like high school. He didn't do well there. He brags that he got a full ride scholarship to a college. I don't believe him, because it's rare for a college to give a full ride scholarship at the level of the Cumberland University to a football player that did not play.
All right. So
typically they give a portion of a scholarship, a fourth or an eighth.
So did he actually go to college?
He did for 1 quarter, got redshirted, which means he did not play football. And then dropped out. And he told me before our first debate, he said that he kept getting in arguments with his teachers because he thought he was right and he thought they were wrong. The ultimate grandiose narcissist.
Well, that is the thing. Like, in order to learn, you need to shut up and learn. And if you're going to argue with everything, you're not going to learn anything. You can't learn if that's going to be your attitude. You need to actually shut up long enough to internalize the hypothesis and then test it. If you have internalized the hypothesis, fully understand its consequences, then you test it, and then you decide that something's missing here or something doesn't make sense. You've gone through a proper intellectual process, but deciding ahead of time before you've properly understood the model that is being presented to you. You're just installing an obstacle to your own progression.
As this is PJCnet, a flurf, says not everything that's taught in school is correct. Yeah. So
Yes, and not everything that is taught in schools is incorrect. And
you can't
if you are
hand wave
going
it.
to
Yeah.
assert, if you are going to assert that something that is taught in school is incorrect, provide your evidence.
Yeah.
Show me a point where the spherical distance formula is particularly inaccurate. Show me that. And then you'll have some evidence supporting your position. And it should be trivial. It should be trivial to do this. And whenever I ask flat earthers, find me a point-to-point measurement on Earth's surface that is not well approximated by the spherical distance formula. As soon as you can do that, we can have a conversation about data, contraindicating a spherical Earth. If you can't do that, if the spherical distance formula always works, then Earth must be approximately spheroidal, well approximated as a spheroidal object. There's no getting around it. That's the only way that the spherical distance formula can work. So PJCnet, find me your evidence. This is an open challenge. Any 2-point on Earth's surface, just show me that it's not well approximated by the spherical distance formula. That's all you need to do.
That'd be the Haversine formula there, PJC. If you need it, I can give it to you. This is interesting. Eric Erpelding says Whitsitt was fined $250 for his Mount Rushmore arrest. He let it go, and it went up to $1,500, and it dinged his credit score. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but that sounds like the kind of thing he would do.
It does sound like the type of thing that he would do.
Right. And what do people do who just can't be bothered to, do what you need to do when you're getting in trouble with the government? They turn into sovereign citizens. Santos did it. That's how he has a $130,000 fine, because he was better than everybody else, and he got speeding tickets, and he said he thought he couldn't be fined for that. He's better than everyone, and he went. It was tolls too. He apparently in toll roads, he just drive through them. I don't know. I've not been in Australia there, but they certainly in Illinois there are tolls where you just drive through, and it reads your license plate.
Yep.
Nobody will come chase you down. They'll send you a ticket or a bill, and then you just don't pay the bills. It seems that something like that is what he did. So.
Yes. Don't mention toll roads when J.L. Warren is around.
You didn't like toll roads?
He's got a history.
J.L. Warren. Naughty. We don't have toll roads in Minnesota, fortunately.
Okay.
And then if you ever drive through Ohio, you're going to go out east. If you can avoid Ohio, because the tolls there are super expensive. So, anyway, I got a couple more here. Stuart Christmas, that'd be Lloyd Christmas's brother, says just joined, so not enough context for a witty comment. So we'll just say hi, Toon and Tony. Also, gravity is fake because of hyper superfluid toroidal vortices in the major cation. Thank you for that, Mr. Christmas.
I've had somebody buzzing around my channel telling me about, gravity isn't real and it's all, and they don't seem to be a flat earther. And when I called them an electric universe person, they were affronted by it. They've got some weird ass. Eventually, I just had to block him. He just wanted attention, and just wasn't willing to listen.
So many of them thrive on negative attention. It's another weird personality trait that is too common with them. Lord Illuminous Pooh says, keep your miracles out of my science, and I'll keep my science from disproving your miracles. I mean, that would be, it'd be super cool if you could go and test and confirm miracles. Right? That'd be awesome. But I haven't seen it done. You know. And I've heard people, like, I worked with a guy that was super into in the rooms where they have operating places, they on top of the cabinets they put things that you couldn't see when you're walking around in there. And then when people have near-death experiences, they ask them what was on top of it, and they get them right. That's all he ever said. He didn't like have any right up.
Yeah, I'd like to see where this was established.
Yeah. And do they actually put stuff on top? I suppose maybe they do, but even that got my spidey sense tingling a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not so convinced. The argument that sort of I once fainted while having my little finger reset. I dislocated it. And I fainted, and all of a sudden I was warm and in a garden, and things were wonderful. Things were absolutely wonderful. And then I came back to consciousness, and you just go, "Oh, that's my brain misfiring." All right,
I passed out once. I had I had hives. I had a hives outbreak while on a run with my wife, and
really?
I was I felt super euphoric.
Yep.
Like if I wasn't out for long. It wasn't super bad thing, but like I could see where that would continue into a more euphoric feeling. This flanker said, Flanker 420, should you be able to test miracles if they interact with the physical world? Yes, you should be able to. Right? But it's you can't do them on command, really. Right?
Yeah, well,
that's the problem.
It's kind of circular. Okay, so let's suppose that something exists that we can't explain with our science. Let's suppose that something miraculous comes in, and then we establish that the cause was God exists.
Hold on a second. Just as people are saying that there's major reverb on you or an echo.
Oh,
but
sorry.
I don't hear it. And they just said I haven't made any changes to the settings. So, well, King Crew says that echo is epic. It's a slight doubling. Well, where is that coming from?
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, and if it's just started, then I made no changes. So let me see here. Yes. Zoom. Is Zoom in here? I use a thing to route the audio around. So I don't even have I don't have you in OBS in the 2 OBS loop. I don't know. That's weird. Sounds like PhD Tony is giving a TED talk on the moon. Oh, there it is. Keith M says I was on 3 calls earlier that it did this. So it could be... Well, I would hear it if it's in Zoom.
You would think so.
Oh, Keith M says it's been doing it all day.
Well,
interesting.
Again, I would suggest that you should be able to hear the same. If Zoom's at fault, then I should be distorted for you. And if Zoom's not at fault, then it's got to be the software that's between Zoom and the YouTube feed.
Yeah.
But I'll keep my utterances to a minimum.
Well, all right. This is a good question. Steve Bauman says, if we could build a level that went around the entire Earth, where would the bubble go? Let's crowdfund it. Well, if you kept the gravitational potential the same, which would make it not perfectly spherical because the density variations, I probably, the correct answer, I think, is that the bubble would be evenly distributed all the way around.
Yes, if you had a tube that followed an equipotential surface, yeah, absolutely.
Greenball says the fact that the ability to do basic high school level math is the yardstick for determining how smart a flurf is says everything. Yeah, there are so few flurfs that I've seen that can do math. So few. One. Seriously. And it's back. It's Rachie again.
Yeah.
And she can do some trick. I don't understand why she thinks that the sun could set.
Yes. Well, this is the thing. Rachie is very much a religious. She's fixed in her religious.
Yeah, I suppose. The interesting thing, the hyper religious flat earthers are also the Earth must be stationary flat earthers, because when the Bible does not say the Earth is flat, but it does say the Earth shall not be moved, or it's fixed on its foundations, which isn't as big of a stretch as the Earth. He sits above the circle of the Earth, which could also be he sits above the sphere of the Earth, because it's ambiguous which to meaning of hug was intended there.
Well, I kind of think that it has to be a circle, because above doesn't really have a meaning if you're talking about a sphere.
It's true, and of course, what shape does a circle draw, or a sphere draw? When you're looking at it, it draws a circle. Anyway,
Yeah.
Mind of God could do math. That's a good point. But Mind of God, like Effed Up World, says that similarly, these things happen, and it's just our interpretation of it. And specifically, Mind of God said, well, he thought that the Earth was flat because the Bible said so, and he also thought that God, this is weird, thought that God was a deceiver and tricked people into making it look spherical when it's actually flat. And so that was his angle on it. And if you're wondering, who's Mind of God? He was an actual, I do think that he has a master's degree in electrical engineering. So he definitely could do the math. And how it was just the straight religious application that he did. But like I've said before, I've not been able to find him. Some people were concerned for his safety, because he had said years ago that if something didn't happen by a certain date, he would do certain things. So,
Yeah, that's source for concern.
Oh, thank you. What is this?
Cookie dough.
Cookie dough. Oh. All right. Well, I mean, yes, we've got some source for concern, but also some cookie. Anyway, I don't want to do it wrong. Mind of God, Sharad Patel. If anybody knows him, I'd love to talk to him. I hope he is well. So, Round Thinker. So, Round Thinker speaks Hebrew natively, says, the Bible does not say stationary. That's a huge mistranslation, confusion between two similar words. And even I'm just taking the English version of it, right? Which is how the religiflurfs get the Earth must be stationary. Oh, I never finished this thought on Rachie. So yes, and Brown Thinker has gone through a few things with me and explained a bit of the Hebrew, and pretty interesting stuff. Again, it doesn't matter. right? If some book says that something is true when it's not true, then that book's just wrong. But the point about Rachel is that she has recently come to the position where she thinks that the Earth is accelerating upward, like is posited by the Flat Earth Society at 9.8 meters per second squared.
Well, that's utterly incompatible with what we observe.
It is.
Because we observe that gravitational acceleration varies with position. And if the Earth were moving up, if the Earth were accelerating upwards, then that would not occur. The acceleration would be the same everywhere.
And my gravity challenge is specifically designed to shake that out too. Because there's about 5 main categories of Flurf attempts to explain gravity or the downward acceleration. The electrical, magnetic, electrostatic, electromagnetism version, the relative density, disequilibrium, buoyancy, and density garbage, constant upward acceleration. I'm going in upward in less ridiculous, in my opinion. Infinite plane. The infinite plane would be, and none of the infinite plane society people say this, so it's a little different version. I've not met a Flurf that actually claims this, but you could have an infinite plane of a certain thickness, and gravity then would predict that it would be consistent. And then the final one, a centrifugal acceleration, like the Earth is on some sort of a giant roller coaster or a pendulum that's rotating. But anyway, my challenge is specifically designed to address all of them. So if you read it, you could probably shake out all of those that I did when I constructed the challenge. Gary IOW says we would be traveling infinitely fast now, given the age of the Earth. That's the upward accelerating people. But do you want to? Well, you're echoey. Is he still echoey? The reality is that no, according to general relativity, you can accelerate indefinitely long, and you will never. You don't have a problem. And other people will perceive you as reducing the amount of actual change in velocity, as if I understand it correctly. It's difficult to explain relativity sometimes. But you can
I don't know if I'm still, but yeah, the argument is that it requires an infinite amount of acceleration to break the speed of light, though there seems to be observational evidence that this is not true. So in the early universe, all matter was traveling at the speed of light, and it stopped, and it gave off an energy background, which we see today as the cosmic microwave background. And the amount of energy given off was not infinite. So the energy transition from the speed of light to not the speed of light is doesn't seem to be infinite, but there are some caveats on that, I think.
Steve6464 says that you have no echo when you're not talking.
Excellent.
That's kind of mean. Stop it. Gary IOW says John Nash, a beautiful mind, and yeah, I missed that reference, but now that he says it, I got it. Thank you. Serena's one says can't have a universe without a container. Yeah. Good. So,
well,
in
some senses, the universe is a container.
Yeah. Dearth will be pleased to know that. Brenda says, Tony, do you believe in the B theory of time, Minkowski space-time, presentism, the A theory, or something else?
I am singularly unqualified to answer that question. I don't recognize the only thing I recognize there is in Minkowski space-time, which is the way I traditionally think about it. But again, Clyde Wells is the expert in relativity. I'm a humble geophysicist, so
Clive Wells, we should get you on here sometime. Janosch says ancient Egyptians built the first quantum computers. They used lots of qubits. Oh my gosh. Back to the bad jokes. Or dad jokes. Greg Andrews says, Greg Andrews gifted 1 membership. Thank you for that. We have some remnants of the dad jokes still. Pat in the chat says, what do you call twins before they're born?
don't know.
Womb mates.
Uh,
All right, so this one I think goes to you more than me. Afix says, would love your opinions on consistency analysis of dark matter velocity dependent force as an alternative to the cosmological constant, and then gives the DOI. I'll drop that DOI in there.
all right.
But then says, of course, we couldn't just look it up in the real quick. So actually, could somebody grab that DOI, convert it to a proper link, and post it, and then I'll capture it for later, and people can look at it.
So, there are a lot of open questions about, there are a lot of possible explanations for what's going on with the observations for which dark matter is suggested to be a solution. Dark matter and dark energy are the easiest solutions to the apparent problems that we had, the apparent phenomena that we cannot currently explain. But there's plenty of scope for us changing our attitudes on the requirements of, our understanding of dark energy may be modified once we more properly understand what is responsible for the apparently anomalous motion of distant galaxies, which is where we get dark matter from. So if we understand the dark matter issue, which may not be dark matter, it could be superfluid gravity, it could be modified Newtonian dynamics, it could be, there are a number of alternate explanations for it. Once we understand that, we may get a better insight into dark energy, and it may turn out to be something different than what we proposed. There are plenty of interesting proposals come up with by people who are much better informed and much cleverer than I am. But time will tell. We need more data.
There's no shortage of proposals on the edges of science.
Exactly.
Whitsitt a while ago found somebody that had proposed a positive and negative explanation for gravity, and that antimatter. Was it antimatter had anti-gravity? I think.
Yeah.
And that was a proposal for replacement for dark energy, that was somehow causing the expansion, like that there was antimatter towards the center and everything was then being pushed away from it. And Whitsitt's, but also this person then proposed that it was, had some electrical charge to it. And that's why antimatter had negative gravity charge, essentially, but it was electrical. And Whitsitt's like, this is your paradigm. Like, no, this is just some guy's idea. It's a proposal. Yeah. It's not empirically confirmed. There's hundreds of ideas like this.
Yeah, there's a lot of theoretical science, and you've just got to say, well, it could be true. It could be like that. We'll make up our mind once we've got better observational evidence. And the people whose jobs this is, are coming up with better styles of observations and better instruments for those observations. I'm trying somehow to I'm trying to talk less crackly, so I sound less. But yeah,
Less equity.
hypotheses are fine, and they give us something to explore. But ultimately, what we need is observational data.
Many Kieran says Tony's globe demon spirit speaks. It must be the echo.
Must be.
Miles Wilson, this is a good one, says just once I'd like a science defender point out that a pressure gradient exists in all earthbound containers containing a gas due to a certain force, unless it is accelerated downwards. And that's true. I have used that, and I've asked flat earthers, I've asked Whitson, and what causes the pressure gradient, and for a while it was trendy for them to say that the surface of the earth outgasses new gases, right? That new gases appear. They're like, well, plants produce oxygen. Like, no, they don't. They convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. It's a 1-for-1. But even if that's the case, let's say that's the case, pressure differentials equalize at the speed of sound. So there would be an upward 750 mile per hour. Sorry, do it in kilometers. 1,200 kilometers an hour? 14? What is it? What's the speed of sound in SI?
Something like that, yeah, 1,200 kilometers an hour.
There you go. But there would be this constant flow of air going that fast upwards, a constant wind moving that fast in order to, because that pressure differential moves, that air moves. But we don't see that. We see calm. But then also in a closed room, I have all the doors in this room closed and I don't have a grass on the floor. Yet there is a pressure differential that you can measure with your smartphone. And thanks to Leslie Rohrer, I need to make a video on it. I have a sealable container that's got a clear wall on it that you can see. It's got a caddy in it that's magnetically connected, where you can move a smartphone in it up and down and see that there's a pressure differential inside this sealed container. There is no flat earth mechanism to explain that. They don't have anything. Yeah. So. There you go. I guessed at 1,200, and many Karen says, according to Google, it's 1,236 kilometers an hour. There we go.
Yeah. I just did the calculation. I was checking it on my calculator, and I thought,
there you go.
But yeah. Well, since I'm sounding kind of demonic, and I need to go get some food, I might excuse myself, unless you had any urgent questions.
No, I think I got a few more things, and it's been good to have you.
Thank you for having me on, and it's a pleasure to be on and not yelling at anybody. So I think that's 2 appearances in a row where I haven't yelled at anyone. So,
all right.
You know,
well, I'm only at 1 right now.
I worry that I'm a bad influence on you. So we'll see. But anyway, thank you for having me on, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
There it is. All right, fixing this. There we go. Back to Shane Gold. All right, Daryl Frost said Daryl Frost said, where? Pressure differentials equalize at the speed of sound. Yes. Sound is pressure differentials. Sound travels at the speed of sound. I don't know why that's a hard thing, but anyway. He says I deny it. Okay. You deny it. If you insist, you may deny it. It matters not to me. So all right. I need to Stop this. And stop this.
Record.
There we go. All right. Let me read a couple more here. So that's a good one, Miles Wilson, and I need to get the video of that going. I have a few things like backlogged of videos that I need to, like, things I've filmed. Actually, I have these out right now. Who can guess why I might have these out right now? These thermometers. Say in the chat why you think. Say in the chat why. Lord Illuminous Pooh says, if there was a switch 1 light year away and I had a stick long enough to reach it, if I push the stick, how long before the switch moves? And I've seen this. What did Vsauce do one on this? I think. At least 1 year is the answer, right? Because you still have those electromagnetic bonds that need to communicate the push, and they can't go any faster than the speed of sound, or sorry, speed of light. So Derek Frost says, so a jet flying at the speed of sound has no pressure differentials. No, I didn't say that. No. Anyway, Coffee Breath. Here's a more. Oh, Coffee Breath is good at dad jokes. Here's a more timely dad joke for tonight. What kind of dog did George Washington have? A Yankee Poodle. All right. Any no? All right. Well, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he's like, I want to make a sun-powered brick oven. And I have these big Fresnel lenses. I'm like, ooh, you have what? He goes, yeah, I have like multiple of the lenses that go on the front of the old projection TVs. I'm like, ooh. Can we do a moonlight? He's like, you do sunlight and it makes things stupidly hot. It melts stuff, breaks rocks and all this. I go, can we do moonlight? He's like, oh, yeah. So I was going to maybe go over there tonight. I was going to maybe go yesterday, cloudy. I was maybe going to go tonight, cloudy. It's full moon tonight. So maybe tomorrow. I don't know. So anyway, if you're wondering, you probably know why I am streaming tonight instead of tomorrow. It's because tomorrow's the 4th of July. We're doing family stuff tomorrow. So I said, well, I'll do it tonight. Talk to Craig. Craig's like, I'm getting back from vacation today. I can't do it today. So he's going to maybe do it tomorrow if he can find a flurf to debate. So if maybe somebody could reach out to him and see if he's early tomorrow when he's up and I'm asleep, and say, hey, did you find a flurf yet? And help shake one out of the trees. So that he can enjoy a Tuesday night. Ableist says, here's a hilarious joke. Gary Wybenga. Yes. So anyway, yes, the thermometer breeding business. So the idea is to go set out these 5 thermometers wide and then focus the moonlight on just one of them and see what the temperature does. Certainly I got with that other Fresnel lens that I have here, I was able to get it 2 degrees Celsius warmer. Provided that it's not 120 degrees outside, I should be able to get it to warm up, because you can't focus light from something and get it warmer than the thing that it's coming from. Kind of stumbled through how I said that, but so the surface temperature of the moon, whatever that is the hottest that you can potentially get focused moonlight. So will I get south-facing shadows? I won't. So yeah, and Tyson Dog says, good experiment, as according to many flurfs, it should drop the temperature. It absolutely should. If moonlight makes things cold, focused moonlight will necessarily make things colder, a lot colder. So I see Spin says, what degrees is statistically significant? I don't know. For a flat earther, they don't even know. That question means nothing to them. Because I literally, the guy from last week, Daniel Bland, claimed on Facebook, or was it live here? I don't know. He's been busy on Facebook making a fool of himself this last week. But he's claimed 10 or 15 degrees differential in temperature because of moonlight, which is huge. My cold moonlight challenge, I haven't yet finished. I haven't yet released. I think do I do 5 degrees? Like, it needs to be 5 degrees colder, which is impossible because it actually gets warmer. So, according to Judy, you got this. Is according to Cajun Art Guild, evidence is coming any day now that proves Earth is the center of the universe. Okay. Melodic lyrics is clear skies here tonight. I'm off to observe Venus here in a little bit. Oh, cool. I mean, I haven't looked outside. I've been here. Let's see what it says. Looking it up right now here. So anyway, if you did not hear earlier, yeah, cloudy. If you did not hear earlier, Wednesday is the meetup, 7 p.m. Lucky's 13 Pub in Bloomington, Minnesota, and Thursday I will be talking with Jaron. So I'll be on both my channel and his channel. So there it is. There it is. Hi, how you doing, Shane? What's up, Shane? What do you got to say? No, nothing. Didn't think so, Shane. I mean, we all know, Shane, you're a terrible, horrible, awful monster. So, don't know. I don't know how that would have gone. I probably would have just spent the time laughing at him, and saying, "We know that you're lying about it being in the military." So, anyway, people, thank you very much. Oh, hold on. Repo Sandman says MC Tune for the Callahan Award. So in Ultimate Frisbee, Callahan is when the other team throws when they're deep in the end zone, right? So they're on the other side of the goal line and they throw it and you intercept it. It's an instant point. The worst thing you could throw and one of the best plays in the game. Anyway, people, thank you very much. I hope you have a great 4th of July, a great Independence Day, and you get to watch things get blown up, because what better way to celebrate freedom than to blow stuff up? I mean, I love watching stuff blow up. So whatever, people. We'll see you Thursday. Connell Silverfirst says, I did miss it. I'm waiting for Twitsit to tell us his channel is sponsored by Brondo. Remember, Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes. Thanks, Connell.